Hey there! Welcome to Above the Noise with the Profitability Pathmaker. I'm Christy Wilson, your host, friend, and guide on this exciting journey we're about to embark on together. If you've got big dreams of scaling your business, innovating like a pro, and creating a personal brand that sticks, well, you're in exactly the right place. As someone who's navigated the highs and lows of business growth, I'm here to share not just my insights, but also wisdom from the forefront of entrepreneurship and innovation. From the essentials of starting small to the complexities of venture capital, tech advancements, and the art of personal branding, we're diving deep into what it really takes to stand out and succeed in today's fast-paced world. This podcast is for the bold and the ambitious, from startup founders to C-level executives looking to elevate their business. So join us as we explore actionable strategies, practical tips, and real-world success stories designed to inspire and empower you. So grab your favorite cup of coffee and let's cut through the noise together. It's time to make your business not just seen, but truly memorable. Are you ready to dive in? Let's go. Welcome back to Above the Noise with Josh and Christy. And today we're going to be talking about how to know when it's time to hire, when it is time to hire, what are the steps that are involved in hiring, and some of the key tips that are important to have when you're moving forward to when you're ready to scale your business. We get this question a lot, and I actually, many years ago in the corporate world, I used to run talent acquisition groups and develop strategies. So I was able to translate a lot of that experience over into our business. And it is a little bit different for small businesses than it is for larger corporations. So I actually have experience from both. So I am here to share that today along with Josh, who has stood by my side and for better or worse on the hires, has supported that process.
I may have the record for worst hire.
I don't know about that. I've hired many, many people, hundreds of people, thousands.
I think Lily would disagree with this.
Why don't you kick it off? We'll have some outline questions. And these are questions that we get a lot from you guys and from social media and from other small business owners that we talk to when we go in. When I'm coaching in a coaching session, these questions that you're about to hear are questions that I hear a lot in the sessions. So why don't you kick it off?
So the question we probably get the most is, how do I know when it's time to hire? And whether that is the first person we're going to hire or, the second or third or fourth, when is it time to hire another person? But generally speaking, when is it time to hire?
Yeah. And as a small business or as a small business owner, this is, I agree, the biggest hiring question I get. How do I know when? So the answer there is a little bit of a balancing act. I know a lot of people will tell you to just look at when you're too deep in the day-to-day and you're working in the business instead of on the business. It's time, right? Because you should be steering the ship, not rowing. And so they will tell you, that's it. Go ahead, hire, and, have them take that off your plate. And that is good advice. That's sound advice. However, I always coach my clients that it's not just when you're too deep in, it is also if your business is financially stable enough to support that hire. So it's a two-part process. Regardless of what advice you get from any expert out there, if you're not able to financially sustain it, it's not time to hire. Now,
that's where the balancing act comes in.
The exception to that rule is if by making that hire, it frees you up to now increase the revenue and be able to generate the income, or that hire generates the income that's going to sustain them, that's where it's an exception to the rule. But you need to be able to financially sustain it. And it's when you're spending more time in the weeds than on the strategy. That's important. If you're buried in day-to-day operations, if you find yourself spending 12 hours a day, 18 hours a day working, yet the need
needle isn't moving. You should be working on the strategy, on the growth, on sales, on bringing in more revenue. And if you're not able to do that, then it's probably time to hire as long as you can sustain it financially. A lot of times, another thing is with the IT company, it was when we're missing opportunities. Back in the day,
Sleep.
yeah, he either doesn't sleep or we're missing out on opportunities. We're having to push clients out 2 and 3 weeks instead of being able to get there in 2 or 3 days. And that's a big deal because that's part of the experience, and you're selling an experience when you're selling a service. And also, people don't want to wait. Patient. I'm impatient. We're impatient people. We want it right now today. I'm disappointed when I have to wait like 3 days for something. So if someone tells me I can be there in 3 weeks, I'm probably calling somebody else up. So if you're missing opportunities, that's another sign. If your quality or the customer experience we just talked about is slipping in any manner and it's starting to suffer because you're spread too thin, it's probably time to onboard someone else. You focus on growth and let them handle that experience. So those are the big signs. I always tell people it is a balancing act. The other thing is, again, back to if you're working 12, 15, 18-hour days and you don't see the needle moving, right? You're stuck. You're spinning your wheels. You're at the same level of revenue and profit. You're overwhelmed and you're losing your passion for what you do. You probably started what you did with a mission, with a passion. And it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to have a passion for exactly what it is you sell, but you have to have a passion for what it does, the outcome, the results. For me, it is being able to see a business owner suddenly, go from down here to up here, right, in their business, scale or open more locations or bring in an extra $100,000 or $500,000 or $1 million in revenue, whatever it is. They have now been able to grow because of the effort in. The other piece for me is our team, being able to build a team using our unique work model of partnering with VR, partnering with organizations to offer career growth opportunities, not jobs, career growth opportunities. They really are coming into our family, our work family, and be able to have a hand in the mission, in the vision, in the transformation that we offer our clients. And so because of that, that fuels me, that drives me, that is my passion. So if you find that you don't have that passion, it's like a drudgery, you're just like, to work anymore, it feels icky, it might be time.
So probably the next question we get a lot of is when someone's going to hire, they usually have decided that when they reach that point they're going to hire, they're rushing in. They're in a panic. They waited too long. They need to hire. They're in a hurry and they're rushing into it. And what are those common pitfalls and things to watch out for when you know that you should have done it already and now you're finally doing it?
Okay, so rushing to hire is one of the biggest mistakes I see people make when hiring. This is at the corporate level and a solopreneur who's hiring their first hire. It doesn't matter, everything in between. When you are rushing, it can cost you more than just the time you took to hire, to find them, to onboard, to train, but bringing on the wrong person, skipping the due diligence, really even overlooking that cultural fit and that fit within the team, it can derail any progress you've made and completely change the trajectory of your business in a negative fashion.
We all know the expression, one bad apple can spoil the whole bunch. And it's true. When you bring in that person who doesn't fit at all, doesn't make any sense, doesn't have the experience, the background, the culture, whatever piece it is that just makes them stick out. And if you were in a hurry to bring them in, you've created yourself a little bit of a mess in the process. So
hiring out of desperation, we know that it's really tempting. You're overwhelmed. You just want help.
Do you?
Right. We've all done that. But hiring out of desperation leads to bringing in the wrong person, someone who doesn't align with your company's values, culture, the long-term vision, and it can actually result in higher turnover, which sounds like not a big deal, but it's a big deal because that's disruption and it's costly to have to source, hire, and train again. And now the person that has come on is only operating at a percent of the speed and efficiency for the first however many months. You're going to have to be on top of that, or somebody is. If it's just you, you're going to have to be managing that process. It's not worth it. Do not skip your due diligence. In a rush, we often skip critical steps like good interviews. We're in such a hurry that it's like a 5-minute interview, good, go, that's fine. Instead of going through the process, interviewing the 4 or 5 people and not hiring the first person that comes along unless they really are an ideal fit, right? If you need to do reference checks, depending on your business, we have people in the IT company that go into other places of business. We have to be careful who we're sending in, right? They're working on cash drawers and POS systems, and the last thing we need is an incident. And also, if they just don't have the necessary skills or experience, you can train to skills and experience, so it's not everything. But if they don't have the aptitude to learn those skills and experience, you're going to be in trouble. A big one is ignoring cultural fit. And I know you're thinking, well, it's just me at this point, or it's just a couple of us, so it's fine. That's not a big deal. But it is a big deal. If this person does not fit within your company culture, meaning they don't align with your company's core values, your mission, everything you're looking to accomplish, it's not going to work out. It's going to cause friction within the team. It's going to reduce your productivity, and it's going to tank your morale. So, big one. Another thing people do when they're rushing is they underestimate what it's going to take to onboard this person without the proper onboarding process. They're not going to be able to integrate right with the team. They're not going to have the support and training they need. They're not going to feel like they're a part of this mission and vision. And ultimately, it's going to lead to turnover or problems within your HR paperwork and your payroll and things like that, and your training, issues with your customers, quality. And then, of course, the other big thing we already touched on was when you're in a rush to hurry up and get some help, you sometimes overlook the financial impact. So bringing on a new hire without fully considering the financial implications can put a strain on the business. You need to have that financial stability to support the salary, the benefits, additional fringe or additional costs that come with that, the onboarding, the training, and you also need to make sure that it doesn't jeopardize anybody else within your team if you have other team members. So that's a big thing to think about. So that's how I'd answer that one.
So when you're picking that person to hire, what do you hire first? Do you hire a manager? Do you hire an HR person? Do you hire the steel worker? It all depends on your business, obviously, but how do you decide what that first hire is?
So I worked with a lot of startup companies recently, or maybe they're in the early stages, first couple of years, and it's just been them or maybe them and another person. And so this is a common question. When you're starting to build your team, the first hire you make should be someone who can, A, either free up your time, or 2, B, bring in revenue. Ideally both. So how to prioritize? What are you weakest at? Christy is always feeling frustration when it comes to anything design, art, creative. If it's not business strategy, if it's not the overall goals and the vision and really working through the steps to get there, I get frustrated. Anything, I can't draw a stick person. Okay, it's true. I seriously can't even draw a stick person. So if I have to design something, I'm in Canva and I am like cussing out anyone who's come into the room. I'm in 4 hours to do a task that literally took somebody 10 minutes or less. So when you can identify what you're not strongest at, and what drains your energy, then you can hire someone to do those specific tasks, right? Somebody who's good at doing that. And that frees your time up to put the effort and the energy and the time into what moves the needle, what brings in more revenue, what increases your profit margin, right? What gives your clients that experience they're looking for. Revenue generating roles. So you want to consider hiring for roles that directly contribute to your bottom line. Could be a salesperson. They're going to bring in sales that cover their salary. Could be a marketing expert. They're going to remember your marketing is your magnet. It pulls in your ideal customer. Your sales is the person doing the handshake. They're closing that deal. They're offering the opportunity, the results, and they're actually onboarding them. So either of those roles contributes to an increase in revenue and hopefully profits if you priced your products or services correctly. So that might be something there that is revenue generating. The other thing to think about when you're hiring your first or your early team members is to think long term. Don't just hire for that immediate need. I know it's a temptation to just rush and we'll cover these 10 things, but really look at the overall strategy, your vision, and where you want to go, and make sure that wherever your business is heading, the roles are going to fit within that growth, right? This should be your first hire, and your first handful of hires really should be foundational. It should be the foundation that sets the stage for all of the future expansion. You want a team that is smarter than you. That's my tip for you. Smarter than you, or I should say smarter than you, is stronger than you are at tasks that you're not strong at, your weaknesses. You want a team that complements your skills. You want a team that supports the vision. They're a part of it. They want to put a hand in it and actually, achieve that vision. And you want someone who drives your business forward. They're concerned about driving you and your clients' business forward.
Okay, so you talked earlier about cultural fit and the importance of cultural fit, and don't downplay that, but we all know that it's actually more important to hire for skills, right?
No. So false. This is another big one I get. I don't know who to hire. I had someone come to me just recently and they say, Christy, can you look at these 2 video interviews and tell me this person seems to have everything on the resume that I asked for, and this person has, 2/3 of it, but they have but I want you to watch you because they handle the questions a lot differently. So upon reviewing both interviews, I found that the one with all of the skills probably does have that, but they weren't as much of a fit with this individual. This individual is somebody who's stressed out easily, and they are kind of like high strung like me. And this person in the interview with all the skills was extremely laid back. They're in the chair, their feet are up literally on an ottoman as they're doing this interview, which I would not recommend, but just saying. But anyhow, they're literally talking like
My feet are not on the ottoman.
It's so slow, and it's like, and I'm feeling like she's going to get stressed immediately with this pace. She is fast-paced. They have to be able to keep up. This person's very laid back. And while you might be able to balance that to have the chill to the hyper, in this case, I felt like this was going to be a person moving at their own pace. The other person that had 2/3 of the skills, you can train for skills, but they were fast-paced like her. They were super excited about, moving forward, getting it done. And they were a go-getter. They were somebody who was going to be able to keep up with her and balance out, but still organize. So basically it boils down to, when it comes to hiring, the cultural fit, or just the fit within your team, your organization, aligning that piece is more important, in my opinion, than skills. Skills can be taught now. There are certain professions. If you're hiring a doctor, please don't go on cultural fit over skill, something like that. A surgeon, there are certain professions wherein there's licensing and skill sets that are absolutely required. But for the majority of positions that I have placed for it, really, it's
they need to
skills.
have the background. They need
It's cultural.
Yeah, they need that, they need to have a certain level of skill. Like you're saying,
Right.
you can't teach a doctor to be a lawyer overnight, but if you're hiring, they need to have the building blocks to become a good cashier. They don't have to already be a good cashier.
That's right. They have to have the aptitude to learn it, but I would rather train for skills and bring on the right person that fits within our team, shares our vision, shares our mission, wants to become a true part of that and an extension of our clients. It really, that's what drives long-term success. And I've been really fortunate in not only corporate positions, but in our own organizations, our service-based organizations, to be able to attain less than a 1% attrition rate. And that is huge for cost, for morale, and just it's an unheard of number. So one of the things that I ensure when I'm hiring is that they're going to be a good long-term cultural fit. They are not going to cause that disruption for the team. And again, while that's a foundation, like Josh said, you shouldn't completely overlook skills. They need to possess the core skills to effectively perform the tasks or have the aptitude to learn.
So my favorite question, I think, when is it time to outsource versus in-house? And I think that's my favorite question for obvious reasons, because, I do a lot of outsourcing.
We own multiple companies that outsource. The IT company, that's what we do. We come into businesses and we are their IT team. For sales and marketing, for business coaching, that's outsourcing those positions, and it's more economical in those instances for our clients. So I'd say when you're deciding between outsourcing or bringing someone in-house, it's really going to come down to your individual business needs, right? And that's what I tell clients all the time. Just because I'm somebody they outsource to doesn't mean I recommend outsourcing for a client that I work with. If
I've actually helped people who one of my largest clients, who's still a client, by the way, but formerly they had in-house, they outsourced to us. And when they grew large enough, we helped them move it back in-house because it made more sense at that point. So like you said, it's definitely an individual question.
So it depends on your business. And this is something I help business owners with, making the decision on what to outsource and what to hire for. And you really want to look at outsourcing as I need a specialized skill or team, but it doesn't require full-time attention. Now, our IT company, if you need a full-time help desk or something, we can actually do that piece full-time, and it's oftentimes cheaper than bringing in-house. That's the other piece you look at is what's the cost?
It's your cost. It's your cost and your skill ratio. If you're looking to outsource something and it's not going to cost you much money, that might be a very obvious answer. If you're looking to outsource something that might cost you a good chunk of money, but you're getting the skills you're not going to get, the IT is a classic example. You can hire an IT person. You can $70,000, $80,000, $100,000 a year, depending upon what exactly you're looking for. Or you can bring in fractional people to just do these pieces.
A super fractional cost. So that's what we do. Same with digital marketing. And the other thing with that is sometimes you just want somebody who that's what they do. Our marketing agency, they found that they bring somebody in, well, they can do that full time, but they can't do all the pieces. They're not an ads pro and an SEO pro and a website building pro and a social media growth expert and a videographer. So when you start looking at all the pieces that make up something like digital marketing, it ends up being more economical for that business times to outsource it to a team where they have a specialist. Like I have a specialist who they do websites. And I have one that does SEO, and I have one that does social media management, and I have one that does paid ads. So we have team members that specialize in specific focus areas, but the client only pays us one monthly retainer to do all of that. So that becomes more economical than hiring 2 or 3 people to do that job, or even one person that does it in a mediocre manner.
Well, and I think this discussion kind of leads into our next question, and people who struggle with delegation, how do they handle that? And it goes back and forth, I think, with you're talking about delegation, you're talking about outsourcing. If you're going to delegate it to somebody, that's great, as long as that person has the skills to do it. And if they do, that's wonderful. And if you can hire somebody that has those skills, that's wonderful. But somewhere in there, it all kind of blends together.
So if you're struggling with delegation, my big saying that I always tell clients, you've got to let it go if you want to grow. It's true. It is a thing. You will never scale your business if you are wearing all the hats and doing all the things. You can do anything. You can learn to do anything, but you can't do everything. And that's like my favorite phrase that I use to almost anybody I speak with, any clients. You've got to let go if you want to grow. You can learn to do anything, but you can't do everything. So change your perspective. Stop thinking that no one can do it like I can, because you're right. Nobody can do it like me. I'm Christy Wilson. I do it Christy Wilson's way. Nobody can do Christy Wilson the same way I can, right? So that mindset, though, of no one can do it like I can, keeps you stuck. You will never grow. You will not scale your business, and you will stay stuck financially as well.
Here we go. I can do anything, but I can't do everything.
So true.
Someone's texting me.
And delegation isn't losing control, and you need to shift your mindset. It's multiplying your impact. So when you delegate, you don't want to just hand things off. That's not what delegation is. You want to provide an opportunity, to empower the team members that are strongest at that. You want to provide them with your trust. You want to hand over your trust, and that empowers them. And guess what that does? That gives them more confidence, more motivation to do it, and they take ownership. You're allowing them an opportunity to grow. So it's important to remember that. You're empowering your team to do things to free yourself up to focus on that big picture, which is growth and increased income, revenue, profits, all of the above. So focus on what can only you do in your business, right? Because your time is very important as well. Time is the one resource you can't make more of. You can make more money. You can make more of pretty much anything except time. You can't get it back once it's spent. So if it's not something that requires your unique touch, delegate. Automate and delegate. My other 2 favorite rhyming words. Trust me, your business will thank you for it. Trust your team. If you are hesitating, it may be a trust issue. It might not even be the piece of, well, they don't do it like me. It might be, I don't trust them to do it good enough. Invest in your team. Give them the tools, give them the training that they need, and then step back and allow them the opportunity to shine. Allow them, that's what a leader does. They they provide the support, they provide the inspiration and the motivation, and then they let them shine. I mean, that's what you do. It's part of your mission. They're capable. Remember, I hired them, I trained them, or whoever trained them. They are capable. And start small. You have to hand over, everything on day one. Start with a task and build from there, right?
Just like you do with your kids.
And the other big thing, forget perfection. Perfection is another bottleneck in businesses. It is a killer of growth. Perfectionism is your enemy in business. First of all, nothing will ever be the perfect moment, the perfect way to do it, the perfect anything, even if it's you doing it. Even if it's me doing it and it's Christy Wilson's way, it's not perfect. And so that's okay. What matters is the end result, the outcome. Did you get the client the transformation? Yep, they didn't take this exact step that you would have, but they still delivered the results. Set a clear expectation and then let your team run with it. So at the end of the day, you have to remember in business, your job is not to do everything. It's to lead, inspire, and motivate your team. It's to build an amazing team that builds your amazing business, right?
Well, and the good news is if you've been delegating, you can actually avoid probably the biggest problem we're going to talk about. And that's your classic burnout scenario. If you've built your team up and you've forced yourself to learn to delegate, even if, that's a little scary for you, that's probably the biggest way you can help yourself prevent burnout.
That's right. That's another big question I get. What is a big lesson you've learned about burnout along the way? It's to protect your time like it's a valuable asset you have, because guess what it is? It is. You can't get it back. So set your boundaries the way you need to. Delegate and let go. Automate and delegate. You have a team now, or you have an individual on your team. Use them. Delegate the details so you can focus on the big picture, that dream, that vision that you have. Trust your people to take care of the day-to-day so that you're not burning yourself out. And stay true to your mission. Burnout oftentimes creeps in when you're off course, right? So keep your work aligned with your purpose, and that will help to fuel you. Remind yourself of your why. Put it up on a sticky note, videotape yourself, and remind yourself, and put up transformational results. Put up client testimonials hang them up and read them every so often, and remind yourself of what you're doing. What's the outcome, right? And the other thing is really play the long game. Building something really amazing, it's not a sprint, it's instead a marathon. So pace yourself. Take it. It doesn't all have to be done overnight. We live in such a fast-paced world that everybody's like, oh, if you didn't do this $10 trillion launch in 5 days or less, that's it. You didn't follow the steps, rush to the finish line. I'm not saying take your time and miss opportunities, but ask yourself, is this really what I want? Or is it what society tells me I want? Is this what I'm supposed to want as a business owner? What have you done? And does that line up with where you're happy?
No, I think that's a good transition to our next thought here, which is, people they grow up so scared of burnout. They're told, burnout. And I think there are a lot of things that people think are going to lead to burnout. They're wrong. Burnout's not unavoidable.
Right. And there's a lot of really big myths out there about scaling a business and it contributing to burnout. That's, like Josh said, that's exactly what we hear. And some of the ways to avoid it, some of the big myths are we have to do it all ourselves. We're a business owner. We have to do it all ourselves. You don't have to do it all yourself. You don't have to be involved in every detail. You don't have to be down in the trenches running the operations while trying to grow your business. That's a recipe for burnout, failure, and stagnation. So don't get caught up in that. Also, growth doesn't have to be complicated. A lot of people think that scaling means adding all these layers of complexity. You have to have all these new tools and you've got to, layer on. It's got to be super complex. And we've got to do all this. Really cutting out some of that distraction, streamlining your processes, and focusing on what you have and can you use it to move the needle. You don't always need the shiny new tool. You don't always need a more complex process. Sometimes you need a more simplistic process to get to the end result. So complexity adds stress, and we definitely don't need any more stress. So the other thing is bigger isn't always better. We are taught to think that scaling is all about getting bigger, more clients, more revenue, more everything. Smart scaling is ensuring you're growing in the right ways, increasing your profitability before you're bringing on more clients. What are you doing internally?
And sometimes it's time to stop growing and clean up internally.
Improve efficiency.
Your processes, improve your efficiency. There was a time in the IT company before we had a help desk system, a ticketing system, and we were using calendar invites and other methods of keeping track of things. And we actually stopped for like a good 6-9 months. We just simply, we're not taking on new clients. Got to kind of grow these internal systems and be ready for that.
And we did. And now we're able to scale even bigger, faster. So it's really about building something that's sustainable and manageable, because if it's not, it's all going to implode anyhow, and you're going to lose the whole business. So another big myth is believing that you can scale a business without making any changes. Why this has always worked. Most dangerous words. We've always done it this way.
Always done it this way.
No, you need to constantly be refining things. You need to be reviewing your processes, your tools, your systems. Do you need them? Are they the most effective way of doing things, most effective process? Is it bringing results? You need to shift your mindset to think, I constantly need to be reviewing and assessing and then redefining things if needed. And then again, the big thing is people look at it as a sprint. Everybody is in such a hurry. Well, if you've got to use this framework and it gets you $1 million in the next 10 days, and these things are just a recipe for burnout. And again, it's not sustainable growth. Some things take patience, they take practice. You're not these quick schemes of you're gonna grow by 50,000 followers in 10 days.
It sounds too good to be true. It probably is.
That is absolutely what I would take away from that. So focus on building a solid team, an amazing team, and they will in turn build your business for you. Keep things simple, grow smart, be ready to pivot and change, and pace yourself at a pace that is comfortable for you, your business, and your team. You also don't want your team to burn out.
Okay, so you've been talking for close to 30 minutes. But what's important here is that after all of that, you only get to tell somebody one thing. They're ready to hire somebody. If they got to focus on the one thing, what's the one thing to worry about before they hire that next person? And dumb it all down, condense it. I heard everything you said.
The one piece of advice I'd give around hiring. So when you're making a decision of whether to hire and who to hire, you want to ask yourself the question of, number one, what's the cost of the hire versus what's the cost of not hiring? What is it going to cost you in missed sales opportunities, growth, revenue that you're not going to be growing like this? You're going to be stagnant. And so you missed out on this. So you're not here to be able to scale again. So really, I tell business owners all the time, I understand the cost, but if you can financially sustain it within your business, what's the cost of not hiring? So that's the important thing. You're missing out on growth and opportunities. Your time, again, is your most valuable asset. If you're stuck doing tasks that do not move the needle within your business, do not help you to grow, then you're not using your time wisely. So don't let fear prevent you from taking the leap. Again, as long as you're financially able to sustain it. Growth always requires taking calculated risks. It is what it is. The right hire isn't an expense. You want to think of it mindset-wise as an investment in your business's future. The right hire can truly transform your entire business, bring new ideas, fresh perspective, and additional skills and help you scale. So that's that. We're going to cover part 2 in the next episode, and we will talk a little more about common questions we get around hiring. We'll see you next time.
And that wraps up another empowering episode of Above the Noise with the Profitability Pathmaker. I'm Christy Wilson, and it's been an absolute pleasure to share this time with you. I hope today's journey has armed you with valuable insights and strategies to propel your business and personal brand to the next level. Remember, every setback is just a setup for a comeback. So keep pushing, keep dreaming, and never be afraid to be a little loud about your goals. We've got a whole world to impress, and I can't wait to see where your journey takes you next. Until next time, keep making waves and rising above the noise. Cheers to your success, and I'll see you on the next episode.